We're, of course, doing our best here at Mark Rogers TV to break down media days across America with the Big 12 and also the ACC underway on this Monday. And we bring in Dan Rubin of BC Interruption to break down, guess, BC, of course. So, Dan, we bring you in because you listen to these guys talk this afternoon. BC coming off a 7-6 campaign, 4-4 in the conference. So, you had an offensive lineman there and a defensive lineman there, and I will not attempt to pronounce your defensive lineman's name. I will let you take it from here and listen to what stood out for you.
Well, defensive lineman from out of Montreal, Quebec, Mehdi Abdesmad. He's an upperclassman. He's been through the ringer for BC the last couple of years. Both guys who they actually sent, Mehdi alongside Harris Williams, coming off major knee injuries last year. But both very experienced guys who have been around Boston College and certainly good ambassadors for the university. They did a great job. They had a lot of fun out there. I could tell when you get to see them do what is it they do down at ACC Media Day with the broadcast. They get to do the broadcast of a famous play. They had some fun with that, and you could tell they were enjoying the moment. So it was nice to see, especially for a couple of upper class guys getting their moment in the sun.
So, of course, Dan, you prepped me on that name just seconds before we came on, and then it completely eluded me 5 seconds later. So I thought there is no way I'm going to take a stab at it because I just wrote down a lot of vowels here as I was trying to scurry and write down the name there, and it just would have been a complete disaster. So you're going to tell me now, Dan, how in the world we have a connection between offensive line play and the Renaissance period.
Well, the funny, these guys got to be smarter than me. That's the only thing I can come up with. There is no way I'd come up with this reference. Harris Williams gets asked during his press conference, part of the press conference, about being part of an offensive line that has virtually no experience coming back. He's the only guy who spent any time on the line with a bunch of guys who are going to be playing this year with no experience. And he actually talked about it being like Michelangelo having a blank slate. That's got to be my new favorite quote because I guarantee there were a few guys in the media and a couple probably players, probably a couple coaches that were sitting there going, did he just make that reference? But he talked about having the blank slate, being able to gel and talk about how they can do whatever they want as an offensive line, have chemistry, however they want to do it. There's no need to replace anybody because there's a fresh start. And apparently our offensive line coach at Boston College, who is so well known, I don't even have the name off the top of my head, is Michelangelo.
Well, Dan, see, most people would completely disconnect offensive line play and the big guys up front with any type of artistry or anything aesthetically pleasing. But really, if you're really a football fan, you know that the most cohesive and artistic unit on the field that has to work in sync together is the offensive line. It's really the most crafted and synchronized unit on the field that needs to work together. So I'm right there with Harris Williams in that analogy. That was very nice. So let's see. We also have a game between Notre Dame and Boston College being played at Fenway Park, and that should be interesting to see. I like that kind of nostalgia and kind of the mixing of the two cultures and the two sports. We've seen it at Wrigley Field in recent years, and now we see it at Fenway Park. So any comments that come to mind regarding Fenway Park?
Well, I know. Well, first I'll start. My dad used to go to games at Fenway when the Boston Patriots played there. And as he put it, he said back then, I mean, they were talking 1960 to 1963 or whatever it was. As he put it, he goes, there's nothing like watching a game at Fenway Park because you show up and you have no idea how they would plant a football field in the middle of the oddest shaped baseball stadium in the world. But they make it work, and it actually is a great venue to watch a game, especially if you're close to the field. You can kind of see everything from the grandstand, the bleachers, and that sort of thing. So he was kind of excited about that in the way that he was talking to me about it. As for the guys that were there, they were both asked about it, both Mehdi and Harris Williams, and they have two very different takes on it. First of all, Mehdi Abdesmad, like I said, he's from Montreal, so not a huge baseball community up there. I'm sure that he's not as familiar. I believe the Expos. I don't know how old he is, but They weren't not exactly a storied franchise for anyone to follow up there. And they asked Matey, they said, what's it going to be like playing at Fenway Park? And he said, well, I think it's a really nice stadium. And a couple of the guys in the media kind of laughed to themselves because like, yeah, I guess you could call it a nice stadium, being the oldest state active field in Major League Baseball and tradition in Boston and all this. So it was really funny for that. And then it kind of got taken to another level because then they asked Harris Williams, "Oh, you grew up in Massachusetts. You must be a Red Sox fan." And he just completely deadpan and said, "No." So there goes that. I'm willing to bet all the storylines that they wanted, the media asking the questions, got blown to bits in about 18 seconds. But Harris Williams also talked about it being hallowed ground in a great stadium that he's familiar with. He talked about how he was a huge baseball fan growing up with the San Francisco Giants, almost came to Boston College to play baseball as a power hitter. So when you think about that, he understands, and I'm sure most of the players and everybody understands, it's going to be a lot of fun under the lights of Fenway in November against Notre Dame, and it's going to be a wild atmosphere because we have a lot of Notre Dame fans in Boston and a lot of BC fans in Boston. So they know it's going to be pretty exciting.
Dan, I'm reminded more frequently these days of how old I'm getting. So when you mention the Expos, I'm thinking, okay, that was several years ago, but hey, the kids should remember that the Montreal Expos existed. But what are we talking? 2002 or 2003 that they went to Washington, and this kid's 21. You do the math, and he's like 8 years old at the time. So I guess we can't expect him to be a big Tim Raines or Andre Dawson fan.
Hey, my gray hair is getting grayer by the minute thinking about old Jerry Park.
All right, Dan, we appreciate the information and the insight. We'll give you one more shot if there's anything else we need to know about media days with BC and the ACC.
Just that one of the things that popped up a lot with Boston College was the fact that their smash mouth football. Both guys tend to talk about the intensity of the coaching staff, and a lot of people seem to wonder what's going to happen with the new offensive line and new quarterback situation. But judging from what the players are talking and judging from what Williams said, I think they're going to stay true to their roots this year, and it'll be interesting to see what Steve Adazio says tomorrow when we're talking the running game at Boston College.
Dan, excuse me if I'm not shocked and don't think it deserves headlines that we're talking about BC and smash mouth football.
Like I've said before, I'm pretty sure the wide receivers didn't even know we had wide receivers on the team. They were like extra tight ends and blockers. They were the best blocking receivers in college football last year.
All right. He's Dan Rubin of BC Interruption on the SB Nation platform for BC Athletics. Dan, it's always a good time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mark.